I want to welcome you back today. I always like to start some video blogs with the gratitude for your comments, for your questions. So many encouraging compliments come my way, and I'm always grateful for them. And I'm always grateful for feedback. There's a few ways that you can reach me. On Twitter, it's at InfidelityScars, or if you are on affairrecovery.com's website, you can post a comment here. Or if you're on YouTube, you can post a comment there, and I'll do my best to respond as soon as possible. It gets a little bit tough, so I'm sorry if it takes a couple of days for me to respond to your comments, but I legitimately always try to respond to every comment that comes my way. Today I want to talk about how we, as survivors of infidelity, sabotage our own healing. The reality is that, so many entrepreneurs or life coaches or motivation gurus talk about, our biggest enemy is ourselves. And I have different thoughts on that, but at the end of the day, we do so much to sabotage our own healing that I wanted to give you just a few ways that I really believe when you're dealing with infidelity that you can sabotage your own healing. And I'm humbled to say I've done all of these, and I hope that you either don't do them or stop doing them as soon as possible. For either the unfaithful or the betrayed, I can promise you one of the main ways that we sabotage our own healing is by focusing completely on what's been done to us. Now, if you're a betrayed, I know that kind of hurt, and I don't want you to hear me say, oh, well, you're just focusing on the infidelity, so get over it and move on. You're never going to hear that here. However, for the unfaithful, we love to focus on how our spouse allegedly hasn't met our needs and has treated us like a child and rejected us, and there's a litany of other things that we like to focus on. If we're a betrayed, we get stuck and focus on the infidelity or the addiction or the multiple infidelities. And for the betrayed, it's a little bit different. Early on, you have to focus on that because you have to know what you're forgiving and you have to know what you're choosing to live with or choosing not to live with. You have to be able to get a handle on it. For both of us to heal, though, there is a time where we have to stop focusing on what's been done to us and focus on the road ahead, the expert help, the program that we're using, the steps that we're taking, the choices that we're making. Because if we constantly focus on what's been done to us, we're going to sabotage our own healing. We're going to continue to martyr ourselves, play the victim, and find that we really can't develop much significant momentum in our own healing at all. Another way that we sabotage our own healing is we surround ourselves with people that are not objective. And I can promise you, when I allowed the voices of those that were not objective to be in my life and continually be in my ear, I was allowing those voices to sabotage my healing, my momentum, the ground that I was gaining, because now I started to listen to what they were saying, and they weren't going through infidelity. In fact, they had never been through infidelity. So trying to get objective insight from them was extremely counterproductive. Another way that we prideful control freaks sabotage our own healing is we may go get expert help, but we don't do what they say. And I will tell you early on, with Rick Reynolds and I, we butted heads. And thank God I had finally found someone who knew how to get beyond my persona, who was smarter than I was, who was far more gifted than I was, and who had the audacity and the guts to call me on my dysfunction, hypocrisy, and self-righteousness. And I will say that thank God we found someone that was willing to graciously, delicately, but yet effectively confront Samantha on some of the things that were going on inside of her. There were several times that eventually Rick had to have some very lovingly confrontational discussions with Samantha to help her see some things that she just was refusing to see. You see, if you continue to think that you know more about your recovery or the recovery process than hopefully the expert that you're seeing, you're going to run into problems. If you go to affairrecovery.com, there's a free 7-day boot camp program that is life-changing, that will help you immensely. It's free. It's 7 days. It'll probably take you 7 to maybe even 14 days to do because it's extremely thorough. But if you constantly reject these suggestions and advice and the recovery protocols of an expert, you're sabotaging your own healing. Another way that you sabotage your own healing is by trying to do this by yourself. Now, I know I just said a little bit earlier that if you surround yourself with people who are not objective, you're sabotaging your own healing. And then you say, well, I need to get some people in my life. Yes, you need to find some people who are objective and safe and are not going to try and play armchair counselor, but they're going to love you and they're going to support you, and they're not going to give you advice on things that they've never been through themselves. And so if you try and do this alone, especially if you're an unfaithful, you're going to sabotage your own healing. You are not strong enough to be your own accountability partner. You are not strong enough to weather the storm that is coming your way or that is in your midst right now. You need someone that will love you, same sex, support you, confront you, and stand with you in probably one of the most difficult times of your life. One of the ways that we sabotage our own healing, and I laugh because I was the king at this, is we focus on our spouse's healing, not our own. I'll never, ever be able to forget a day where a buddy of mine was listening to me, and he said, man, it's rough. And Samantha, yeah, but let me ask you something. What about you? And I was like, what do you mean, what about me? And he goes, well, what about what you've done? What about the carnage? What about all that has happened because of what you've done? Have you really stopped? Have you slowed down long enough to focus on your healing? And we cussed at each other for a little bit, and he was exactly right. If you are constantly focusing on your spouse's recovery, I'm sorry, you are sabotaging your own healing, your own momentum, and your own growth because you're fixated on them and not you. You just can't control them. You're not going to be able to control them. Finally, another way that we sabotage our own healing is living in such a way that we don't have any blind spots. I had a significant breakthrough in recovery when I realized that I had a few incredibly significant blind spots that were stealing from me. And I had to own them. And I had to embrace the fact that I'm not smart enough to see everything in my life. I'm not smart enough to see all the blind spots. We have blind spots when we drive. We have blind spots in recovery. We have blind spots in marriage. We have blind spots in personal relationships. And if you will not admit to the fact that you yourself have blind spots, I'm sorry, you're sabotaging your own recovery. Because everybody else can see them, but you probably can't. And until you are willing to accept the fact that you have blind spots, and until you're willing to get expert help to see into those blind spots, you're going to continue to sabotage your own healing, whether you're unfaithful or whether you're betrayed.